telling you. Hi, all of y'all. So we're gonna explore a store. We're gonna go back in time to 2006. We're gonna see what's available in a store in the Circuit City or one of those stores. Okay, let's go to Circuit City. 2006. Oh, this is from November 2006. So let's see what they had in Circuit City back in those days. so there's a Wii. Remember those TVs? See this TV? Look how much they were back then. Well, that was a 37-inch though. But they started getting cheaper. And then this computer. 80 gigabyte hard drive and DVD burner. Remember all that? And then remember these? And then the Wii, of course. That's when they barely came out. I think 2006, I guess. I mean, it was gonna be in 2000. It barely came out at that time, around this time. It just barely came out. And so, here's more items available. Cameras. See these digital cameras? See, they used to have like, how many internal 7 megapixel, and they had a 19 megapixel or megabyte internal memory. 7 megapixel. And then like these cameras here, they had 8 megapixel and stuff. And then the memory cards. No, like I remember they used to be like 16 megabyte, not gigabytes. Megabyte. So this one was an 8 megapixel. Today's cameras are like 20 megapixels. My phone has, I think, 12 or 20 megapixel or something like that. And then these fancy cameras had 8.2 megapixel. This is 2006. And then the video cameras, and then they used to do these hard drive version camcorders. And here's the memory cards. See, they had 1 gigabyte. Only 1 gigabyte, and they were like $40. 1 gigabyte, I mean. Not 1 terabyte, 1 gigabyte, yeah. And here's another memory card, 1 gigabyte. And then these. And then I think these were hard drive camcorders. They used to do that. Hard drives. I mean, that was actually a good concept though, because you could store all kinds of stuff on a hard drive. I don't know how much hard drive space. I guess it was 60 gigabyte. That's plenty of space right there. I mean, hard drive, that's a lot of space right there. I mean, the concept of that was actually not a bad concept, because you're storing directly on a computer file. I mean, that was a good idea. That was a good concept there. And then they had these DVD camcorders, which was a failure. It's a big failure. DVD camcorders are a failure, I could tell you that much. Because it was like the DVD camcorder was like the same concept as a VHS-C and the VHS, the full-size VHS camcorders and the VHS-C. It was like the same concept, but with DVDs. You know, like they used to do DVD recordables. And then, yeah, so you could see it right there. But they only provided like 20 minutes of time, you know, like, what is this? The media, what is this? Media center. I remember that. I mean, we used to build it. We used to use these like to play our music. We could play a little bit of video and more DVD camcorders. I never personally liked those. I never had the thing about DVDs. I never wanted to do DVD camcorders. That was definitely not something that I liked. I mean, the Sirius FM, and then these, and then remember the MP3 players were like a big thing back in the day. Like this one was one of them. MP3. Remember they used to do these 1 gigabyte. You're able to hold with 1 GB, you're able to hold, say, like 20 or 30 albums on there. And then this boombox. And remember the Zune? The Microsoft Zune. I mean, it was like the competitor of the Apple iPod. Remember these? Like, how much space did that have? I mean, well, I know it was a competitor of Apple iPhone or iPods, but I think these are a failure, unfortunately. I mean, but the Zune was actually more nicer because it had a bigger screen and it was Microsoft. I mean, so I mean, it would work good for someone who knows Windows best. And here's I don't know what memory. What is this? I mean, oh, remember that? I mean, remember these things. And then adapters. I mean, if you wanted to hook up, remember all this? I mean, this is what we have on our phones today. I mean, and then now here's the iPods. Like, remember these? Like the Apple. What did they call these? What did they call these? iPod shuffles. Remember these? They were like 1 GB. I mean, like there's like the smallest one you can get, but then of course like iPods. I remember like these are like the common ones. Then this is what everybody had in those days, and depending on the size, I mean they had them as big as 8 GB. For $250, and then they had some with 2 GB. I never owned an iPod, not until a little bit late. Well, actually, I never really actually owned an iPod, ever. I mean, I only owned like these aftermarket MP3 players because I didn't really believe in wanting to pay this much money for one of these when we can buy an aftermarket one for like $50, you know, like, and I did those, and they worked. I mean, those aftermarket iPods, they did work. Not that great, but they were good enough. I mean, and then this is the music of back then. This was back in the day, the music. Remember all this? Downloading music. Remember that? Like we download the music so we could play it on the iPod. Remember that? Now today, we use the phones for, like we use YouTube or Spotify today. I mean, that's what we do today. I mean, and then there's the movies, the DVDs and movies that were out at that time. All the movies. 2006. This is on November 2006. Remember these? Like we used to do the portable DVD players. They were kind of like the trend back then. Because we didn't really have anything that could support video on a phone back then. I mean, and then of course DVD recorder this is a DVD recorder, and then more other items, available items. Oh, what's this? Video visitor. What the heck? Huh? I don't even know what that is. And then VCRs and DVD. It's all DVD. And then of course speakers and stereo equipment. And then I mean, I wonder if this is the same stereo that Jet Knight gave me. Hang on, I'm gonna check. It kind of almost is, man. It almost is. It's very similar to it, the one that Jet Knight gave me. But anyway, so there's like the sound system or the surround, and then the navigation systems. Remember, we used to have to buy these separate navigators. But now I haven't seen one of these in stores today. We don't even need them because our phones have them. I mean, I wouldn't even know what's the difference between the good ones versus like the cheaper ones. Yeah, remember these? And then the stereo head units for the car. And then these are the TVs. Look at the TVs. So the TVs, well, like this one right here, it was a 23-inch. And then we had a 20-inch. Now, the TVs are very expensive back then. You know, they were still expensive back then. See this one, a 26-inch. And this one was a 32 inch. And this one was like, well, I mean, TVs are still expensive back. Well, TVs were expensive. They came out, the flat panel TVs came out in 2002. And then, well, these are actually some CRT TVs. Or at least I think they, yeah, these were the CRT TVs. Yeah. Oh no, that's LCD. I mean, which one? I know some of these were CRT TVs. I think this one was a CRT, obviously, because look at the price. I mean, look at the price. I mean, versus, but that one was a 15-inch LCD TV. Well, I was surprised at that it was that price. I mean, but I mean, well, that they did have CRT TVs. Apparently, I mean, they're still selling them back then, and so. Turn the page. Circuit City, and there's and these are the more fancier ones. 40-inch for $2,000. Here's another one. 32-inch for $1,400. And then here's some. I think these were not LCD TVs. I think they were like a big screen. They were like the I don't know what they call them, but they weren't LCDs that I can remember of. They're big screen. They just called them big screen TVs. But if they were LCD, the flat panel, they would be very expensive. I mean, well, this one was a 46-inch for $3,300. I mean, $2,800 for a 50-inch. And here's the one, LG. And there's more of them. See, this one was a Sony one, 46-inch for almost $4,000. I mean, and here's one that was $4,000. It was well, this one was a 52-inch for $4,000. And a Sharp one, well, they were Sharp, and a 46-inch for $3,000. And they still had other ones right here, 56. Well, these were not flat panel TVs. They were like just big screen TVs. You could see the backs, and like they protruded. You know, they protruded. They weren't flat panel TVs, but I mean, but they were really nice. 65-inch for $3,300. But now today, like you could get a 75-inch TV for like $300 today. Like, and they're flat panel too. Imagine that. Imagine the technology. How long of a way they've come. Now the Wii U's or the Wii's. $2,200. Well, remember, there's $249, and then these are all the games that are available at that moment. Well, they just barely came out that I can understand of. And then the Xbox 360. You know what? This was a year that I bought my first 360, the Xbox 360. But I bought it at Costco. And that's when they started doing the hard drives. But I think this was also like the time when the PlayStation 3 came out too. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't seen it on this ad yet. But maybe it hadn't came out yet or something. I don't know. But then they started to try to compete by adding a HD DVD player, and because the PlayStation 3 had Blu-ray players, but the Xbox did not have any sort of high definition CD player or DVD player. You know. So there's the I guess it's the Nintendo DS. I remember those. I remember like the backs of these used to break real easily or something. Yeah. DVDs and stuff, I guess. No, that's the games. Okay, the computer system. So they did flat panels. There's $1,100. This was like one of the more fancier computers. Had a 2 gigabyte memory, 320 gigabyte hard drive, XP. and DVD recorder. And then what was the memories on there? Well, I mean, it did show, right? Yeah. And then this one was a budget computer, HP. Had 1 GB memory and 250 gigabyte drive. They were not. They're getting better. I mean, what they were offering was getting better. And it looks like the monitor was not a. It was not a flat panel. It was a CRT. So, and then this one offered a flat panel monitor. But this one had a 512 megabyte memory and 200 gigabyte hard drive space. Well, here's a very budget priced computer back in the day, $320. But during this time, though, we had to do mail-in rebates, and it was a common thing that we had. They had mail-in rebates, and you had to make sure you did it correctly, or else you'd lose out like that. This is the money that I'm talking about. After mail-in rebate, see that? I mean, all the rebate stuff. Remember that? We all remember the rebate stuff. Yeah. I mean, and some of us used to mess up. It happened to me once where I messed up and I didn't get my money, or some of it anyway. And then, well, this computer offered 512 megabytes memory and 120 gigabyte drive and a CDRW drive, when they can record on CDs, where it could burn a CD, a music CD back in the, remember those days? Where you could burn a CD and stuff. And then monitors, look how much monitors were. If you wanted a flat panel one, $320, $200, $200. And this computer, I mean, this was an Acer. But, you know, like, I think Acers are considered like the cheap computers, cheap brands. And then remember all this stuff. Okay, I have another page here. The printers. Well, yeah, if I'm remembering the printers and stuff. And then remember and then the memory cards, remember these things? Data Traveler, yeah, remember these? 1 gigabyte. And then we had 512 megabytes. And then, or we had 2 gigabytes. Remember the memory cards that used to be like 256 megabytes and stuff? Remember all that stuff? And then the hard drive, look at the hard drives. $150 for a 320 gigabyte external drive. And then they had these hard drives too. 100 gigabytes. And then they had another hard drive, 250 gigabytes. And then this one was 60 gigabyte hard drives. Yeah, remember that? And then we can upgrade hard drives to 160 gigabytes on our computers. And then these are the phones. Are these phones? No, it's just a voice recorder. And then routers, internet routers. I mean, when we used to do those. And then all this stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, and then there's like phone. This is a phone. Oh, no, I don't know. Okay, well, there's the landline phones. Huh? Who does landline phones these days? Do any of you do landline phones these days? I haven't seen one of those in a long time now. I haven't seen one. I don't even think they do landline phones anymore. I mean, I think they're gone, man. And then see, what's this? Oh, that's a Roomba. And then what's this? Camera phone. What? I didn't even know they. Well, they did have cameras. And then this was a phone that we had. Well, that's just some of it. Okay, here's a phone. Well, some of you had this. We had one. We had this phone. We had a Razor. I mean, It was a Motorola Razr. We had one of these. And then this, I mean, I don't know what this was. Was this a phone? Well, I'm not. Well, I think this is an MP3 player. It was MP3 or music. We were able to watch some video a little bit too. Yeah, I remember these phones. I mean, and then the flip phones are pretty popular, but especially the Razrs, the Motorola Razrs, especially those. Well, these are, and then this was like the ultimate right here. I mean, smartphone. Well, I mean, it was like the BlackBerry. Well, I don't know if this was a Motorola, but well, I know they had the BlackBerry. Remember these? And then there's more of the, I mean, CDs. Well, I hope you liked this video about the electronic store ad. All right, I'll see you on the next one.